This is gonna be cool.
The topics and opinions expressed on the Dudes and Beer podcast are intended for an audience of 18 and up and are solely those of the host and guests. They neither reflect the opinions or values of either the sponsors of Dudes and Beer or your mother. I mean, seriously, have you ever heard these guys? They'll talk about anything.
Whoa, hey, you think they're gonna show it? They'll probably just blur it out. Whoa, check it out, Beavis.
Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 92 of Dudes and Beer.
Yeah!
I cannot thank everybody enough for the last year and a half. It has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Probably the most creative and growing year and a half of my life since I was like 19 years old. Just growing with y'all as an audience, growing with y'all as friends on the air, the friends that come into the studio, people like Steven,
Great
Nelson.
freaking guests all year long. Dude.
Yeah, you know, we've had some good stuff, and we're moving on to better stuff, and we're going to get into some of that in a minute. But tonight, we're going to be discussing, I was recently asked by somebody, and we'll explain who in a little while, to describe Dudes and Beer.
I was going to ask you.
And I was like, really, we are a discourse on the state of humanity. That's what we are, with beer. We talk about beer. We love beer. We're going to be doing some stuff. Like I said, we'll announce that in a minute after the commercial break. But really what we are is we are an open discourse. We cover all points of view, all sides. We cover strange media, things that are out there that you pass in the middle of the night, things like that. We're trying to inform people. We're trying to change people's lives with stuff like Thinking Deeply. And we're trying to inform people about things that are going on in their local area with beer and, stuff like that. So it's a panoply of what we do, but it's really about living life passionately, living life through passions, finding the things that make you happy in life and following that. And one of those things is love.
What's in your heart, man?
Tonight, we're talking about Valentine's Day, because it is Valentine's Day, folks. Ooh. And, I've already spent my day with my wife. We got to go out and hear the baby's heartbeat and all that kind of stuff and see some new pictures of the boy. So it's great. Valentine's Day is beautiful, but it's stressful to a lot of people in our modern day society. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the actual origins of Valentine's Day, where it comes from, where the modern concept of Valentine's Day comes from, and what that does to society, what it does to people in our society, whenever we get back from this message from our sponsor.
Do you love Halloween? Do you like DIY projects? ScaryDad.com is your one-stop shop for everything DIY, from projects and food recipes to book and movie reviews, as well as the awesomely awesome Scary Dad podcast. Halloween is not just a day on the calendar. It's a state of mind. So don't sit around wondering what you're going to do this holiday season. Log on to ScaryDad.com to join the mailing list. Get the latest ScaryDad.com news and updates, from projects and DIY videos to recipes and reviews. It's everything you've ever wanted in a DIY website and more. So stop on by and visit them online today. That's ScaryDad.com. Once again, that website is ScaryDad.com.
And we are back, folks. Absolutely. And shout out to Billy Stewart, ScaryDad.com, as well as Scott Fontenot, the Swamp Thing, there on the Scary Dad podcast. I love being on that show. That show is absolutely fantastic. They're ramping up for some great, huge things. I'm not going to announce it, but I definitely will be having Billy on the show coming up. I'm doing some records in Houston this weekend, and I'm going to have him drop some of the news, because it's incredible, man.
Big, right?
The door that is open for them right now, you may as well be Leighton Gozer the Destroyer in, man, because it's going to be monster. It's going to be huge, and I'm so entirely proud of those guys and of Billy and of what he's done with both the website, the blog, and the show itself.
I like its blog.
You know, it's coming along great. And with us, like I said, we've got some big news. We have episode 100 coming up in a super secret location as of right now.
Super secret right now.
We are still
it's still hot off the press.
Still working out details, still getting things confirmed and stuff like that.
It's very exciting.
We will be coming to you live from a local Austin location, and it will be our other than Meekum, our first Meekum episode, which happened rapidly in our history.
Just shows how great we are.
I think it was like within episode 25 we were at Meekum.
I do believe it was.
But that was actually live to tape. Our first live episode was Meekum. About 6 months later, that was the first live test. Was me, and I was this is ballsy because we're doing a live test at a live show.
Oh, I remember it was real ballsy,
and it was great though. It was fantastic, and we really fell in love with the live format, and that's why we go live every week whenever we get a chance to. Whenever I'm here, even whenever I'm on the road, I do stuff live. But I'm really, really excited to start getting out once a month to live local locations, going out to cigar shops.
We're going to be everywhere.
Out to, hot rod locations, places like that. We're going to be everywhere you want to be, folks. So if you have an idea, of a place for us to go, somewhere that you want us to go live to, your favorite bar locally, your favorite brewery, your favorite distillery, what have you, your favorite cigar shop, stop on by dudesandbeer.com. There is a form right there for you to fill out if you have any ideas. It's right there on the side widget of the website. Give us if you have a show idea, let us know. If you download our free app, we do have a free app on the iTunes Marketplace now. We do have a free app on the Android Marketplace. Just look up Dudes and Beer Podcast.
We're going places.
You will see the beer mug with D&B on it. And that lets you tune in live to this. It also opens up the chat window, which allows you to chat with us live and also be able to start conversations with other listeners as we're live. So that's a cool feature. It's great. We're hopefully going to start doing some live Twitter stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about that. But a lot of this, especially episode 100 right now, is that's our really big announcement. That's
huge, bro.
The absolute welcoming. I'm
so excited on that one, dude.
Of Julie Connolly to the fold of Dudes and Beer. And we can't thank you enough for coming aboard. She is our new public relations and events coordinator, and she is just all over the place since I talked to her about it this last weekend. She is like on the daily texting me stuff. We're looking at on February 28th, quite possibly. We're still waiting, I think, on final confirmation, but we are looking at having Austin artist Chris Oglesby on. So he will be on February 28th talking about his art, talking about things like that. I believe he used to be at South Austin Brewing, so we'll probably talk a little bit about the brewing art with him, why he got into the craft, things like that, and why he follows the passion of his art in life. Because that's the tagline of this show is solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. And part of that, folks, is trying to figure out our mission and our place in this world around us and how we can change the world around us.
You got to follow your heart, man.
And speaking of the world around us, the world was actually predicted to end this day last year, and that was back in like 1991. And I've got the audio clip. It was amazing. It was a groundbreaking interview whenever it happened. And
holy cow,
here it is. Here's the clip coming at you. As soon as there it is.
According to my source, the end of the world will be on February 14th in the year 2016.
Valentine's Day. Bummer.
Yeah, and that is Dr. Peter Venkman.
Before you even went to the clip, that's the one that went through my mind. I was like, I thought you were, oh my God, but Peter Venkman.
Oh yeah. That's just one of my favorites. I had a hotel room at the Paramus Inn, and I was having a couple drinks at the bar, and this alien disguised as a man came up and started talking to me and took me to his room and to Paramus. An alien had a hotel room at the Paramus Inn.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can still see Bill Murray's face when he
when she says that. He's just like, oh. But
and he looks at the camera. It's Valentine's
One of my favorites. I mean, talking about Valentine's Day clips and things like that. One of my favorites
is nutcase.
We actually posted this about a year ago as one of the first videos of the week. And videos of the week, folks, they come along sporadically. You know, we got to find some good ones, but we try to post them every other month or so, where we have a month run of videos of the week. And this one is, if you go onto YouTube and type in perfect dating video, Bobby Petronic, or just worst dating video ever, you'll see this pop up. And me and my wife quote it all the time. It's absolutely hilarious. I mean, you'll get it. I mean, imagine this is somebody's dating video, okay? And it's one of the classiest things in the world. It's about a minute and a half, but I had to play it on Valentine's Day because, you know, everybody is out there looking for their love right now. So ladies, here is the man you have been looking for, Mr. Lonely Heart himself, Bobby Petronic.
This is Perfect Date dating service candidate Bobby Petronic.
Hi, my name is Bobby Petronic. I want to start getting back on dating girls. I got a lot to offer, looking for someone nice, and thank you for consideration.
Bobby, it'd be a good idea if you told the ladies what you have to offer them.
I know. I'm not good at talking myself up, though.
Well, if you want to date, you need to sell yourself, Bobby.
I know.
Well, what's your best attribute?
I got brains. I got big old brains. Like a dinosaur, I got dinosaur brains.
Okay, Bobby, dinosaurs had brains that were the size of a pea.
I know. Maybe I got a whole can of peas.
Okay, Bobby.
I got a case. I got a pallet. I got a whole warehouse of peas in my head. It's like, knock, knock, who's there? Peas.
Bobby, look, we need to find one thing that will make a girl want to date you.
I know.
Well, what are you good at?
Sex.
Sex.
I'm good at that. You'll like it. I'll keep you in the bedroom so long to put your face on the back of a milk carton.
Bobby.
Come looking for you, and they won't find you, though. You'll be gone like a ghost. You'll be like a sex ghost. Will come out on Halloween or Valentine's Day. Be like, knock, knock, who's there? Trick or treat, sex.
Bobby.
I know.
Listen to me.
I know.
We need to find out something positive about you.
I know.
Okay, so what qualities do you like in a woman?
I don't know.
Well, come on, Bobby. What's the one thing you like in a woman?
Boobies.
All right.
I like all boobies, medium, small, large, itty bitty. It's like, knock, knock, who's there? Trick or treat, itty bitty boobie.
Okay, Bobby, we're done.
I know.
And there he is, ladies, the man of your dreams, Mr. Bobby Petronic.
Woo! Gosh.
Yeah, and I mean, we were just over here. I almost pee myself. My wife and I quote that all the time.
That's the bachelor everybody wants.
Just
right
the deadpan face of, I know. Like, Bobby, if you want to date, you really have to sell yourself. I know.
Dude, that guy. Whoa.
So let's talk a little bit about what made Bobby make that video. More than likely, Bobby was coming up against this day that we are actively celebrating right now called Valentine's Day. And yes, folks, at one point, it was St. Valentine's Day. I've got some information here. It actually, the festival itself has Roman roots.
Really?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there was a festival called Lupercalia, and Lupercalia was basically...
I've never heard of that.
Lupercalia was a Roman festival that happened on February 15th every year that was a fertility festival where you would give a gift to your loved one.
Makes sense.
The person that you were betrothed to or wanted to be betrothed to, the person that you were actively courting. Pope Gelasius in around 595, 596 declared February 14th to be St. Valentine's Day. Now, the issue is that, and you can go to Catholic Encyclopedia and check this out, there were technically three separate St. Valentines with these three separate stories that actively, according to their histories, were all martyred on Valentine's Day, on February 14th.
Okay.
Quite odd.
Yeah.
But most scholars believe that St. Valentine of the holiday was a priest who attracted the disfavor of the Roman Emperor Claudius around 270 AD. At this stage, the factual ends and the mythical begins. According to one legend, Claudius had prohibited marriage for young men, claiming that bachelors made better soldiers. Valentine continued to secretly perform marriage ceremonies, but was eventually apprehended by the Romans and put to death. Another legend has it that Valentine, imprisoned by Claudius, fell in love with the daughter of his jailer, and before he was executed, had allegedly sent her a letter signed, "From your Valentine." probably the most plausible story surrounding St. Valentine is the one focused on Eros, not the one focused on Eros, the concept of passionate love, but the concept of agape, which is the concept of Christian love, and that was the fact that St. Valentine was martyred for not giving up his Christianity on St. Valentine's Day. He was martyred for his love of Christ.
Really?
So it was really more this concept of Christian love, which they believe was much more the root of St. Valentine's Day and of the history of St. Valentine. Now, most of it is adopted as, like I said, there are numerous stories there. And, like I'm named after a saint, St. Christopher. And so far as we know, St. Valentine existed. So far as we know, St. Christopher existed.
Right.
But what he did exactly,
it's up in the air.
There's still some theory and conjecture there.
Yeah.
Now, it was well known that the Catholic Church did this all the time. We did it with Christmas.
Yeah,
the cult of Mithra celebrated the birth of Mithra right up around the same time as we have Christmas.
Huh.
We appropriated a lot of holidays. There was actually a Babylonian ceremony that went into Rome and everything, and became part of Roman tradition with fertility right up around the time of Easter, which is why we have Easter eggs and stuff like that. It's the concept of fertility.
Fertility
That you gave.
There's a lot of fertility in these damn holidays, I've noticed here.
Well, it goes further than that, though, because in 1969, the Catholic Church actually revised its liturgical calendar, removing the feast day of saints whose historical origins were questionable, St. Valentine among them. So St. Valentine's Day is no longer a feast day. It was once a saint's feast day.
Really?
Yeah.
That you would kind of pig out on, huh? Golden Corral style?
Well, feast day basically means a celebration of the day of that saint.
Oh, okay.
So, like St. Christopher had a feast day, but we don't really know if the story of St. Christopher crossing the Christ child across the River Jordan on his back is real.
Is real.
So, we're going to keep him as a saint, but we're going to remove the feast day because we can't really, tradition keeps him there. And it's a good thing. It's a great story. It's a good story to think about, but is it actually factual? We don't know. So we're not going to give him a feast day. They only give feast days to things that they can improve and prove. So from there, it went into the 14th century, and, things just kind of carried on as St. Valentine's Day. And it was associated with the death of St. Valentine. It didn't come about to be a day about love until Chaucer got a hold of it. And Chaucer...
Chaucer, what a name.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chaucer from, the writings of the 1300s, the poet Chaucer.
Yeah.
Canterbury Tales, stuff like that. He composed a poem in honor of the engagement between England's Richard II and Anne of Bohemia, and the poem, and it was a poetic, as was the poetic tradition. Chaucer associated the occasion with the feast day in the Parliament of the Man of Love, where every fowl cometh and there to choose his mate. So that's really where the concept of this day being about a chosen loved one came from, was this poem that Chaucer wrote about this feast day and the marriage happening on this feast day, and this being the day of two lovers coming together.
Holy cow.
Now from there comes the tradition of Valentine's Day cards, and over the centuries the holiday evolved. By the 18th century, and that's the 1900s, by the 18th century, gift-giving and exchanging handmade cards on Valentine's Day had become commonplace in England. Handmade valentines made of lace ribbons and featuring cupids, and once again, Cupid, Eros, the god of love and passion from ancient Rome.
Did it get that confused with the arrow?
Oh, no. But that's where that's where it comes from. And Cupids and hearts eventually spread to the American colonies. The tradition of Valentine's Day cards did not become widespread in the U.S. until the 1850s, when Esther A. Howland, a Mount Holyoke graduate and native of Worcester, Massachusetts, go Worcester, Mass. Got some good friends there. Shout out to my brother Joe if he's listening. She began mass producing Valentine's Day cards. And today, of course, the holiday has become a booming commercial success with things like Hallmark, Russell Stover's, everybody else jumping in on it. And according to the Greeting Card Association, 25% of all cards sent every year are Valentine's.
25%.
All cards. Now, you got to consider, that's like postcards, that's everything. 25% of all cards sent every year are Valentines.
Wow, that's pretty damn
That
interesting.
is a large and lucrative market.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to consider. And that's what I want to get into. That's what I want to kind of break into is the social concept of Valentine's Day. I'm a married man. I absolutely believe in love. I waited till I was in my mid-30s to marry someone who I thought would carry me through my life and be there to support me through what I knew would be the issues in my life.
For all the good reasons.
The question that we have to bear is, what is the concept of love in America's society? And we've kind of discussed it before. I kind of see the concept of love as it's shown. Now, there's some new good shows on TV like Us and stuff like that are showing love in a new way. But until now, like the last 15, 20 years has pretty much been a diatribe of love is about sex, love is about hooking up, love is about something that is physical.
Right.
And where do you stand on love, Stephen? Where do you separate Eros and Agape? Let's talk about that concept, the concept of romantic love and Christian love.
Well, I think for sure, I believe that this society today has a false representation of love, as in more of the tangible, the more physical, the more about sex type thing of thought of being physically attracted to a person and stuff like that. Rather than the poetic side that, a lot of philosophers write about and poets of how love feels and stuff like that. It's really out there. It's a feeling that you have between a connection between, the other partner you choose or whatnot. And there is, before I found a person I love truly, I didn't know that. I don't know. It was kind of like my first instinct was on the physical scale,
Sure.
And then when you do meet that person that really does something, and it's not so much what they do, and it's not a moment. It kind of just it happens, but it happens. I don't think there's a moment where you just like boom and it strikes you. I don't necessarily think it could. Maybe for some people, I don't know, but
sure.
I think it's more of like it happens gradually. And when it does, and it's undeniable, and it's a feeling that goes beyond physical, and it's a connection that once established between the other partner, it's nothing compares.
Well, and and that's where I think the kind of the blurring of the two lines of Agape and Eros come together, because there is that. But first, I think truly because Eros is the passionate love.
Right.
And there's absolutely some passionate love in a relationship that's going to happen, that's got to happen.
Right.
But I think truly the agape has to be there before you have the Eros. You have to have the concept of Christian love. Mm-hmm. You have to have the concept of I love this person for who they are. I want to help better this person's life. Right. I want to do things in my life that make me a better person for this person.
Right.
And those are all things outside of yourself. Those are all things that involve self-sacrifice, that involve self-examination.
You're not thinking of yourself anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's where I think agape has to happen first. You really do have to, at least in my mind, before you have true romantic love, you've got to have friendship. You've got to have a deep understanding of each other. And I'm not going to say that love at first sight doesn't happen. I've definitely had my cases of infatuation in life.
Right.
But that's the difference is there's that passion going on.
Right.
There's that fire.
Right.
But does that fire have an ember behind it?
Right.
Because if it doesn't have an ember, but like I could throw rubbing alcohol on this table and burn it, and it'll burn up and go away. There's no ember there. There's no way to rekindle that.
Right.
There's no way for that to
could
restoke.
Be a false representation.
So exactly. And it's kind of the Pink Floyd lyric: was it love or was it the idea of being in love?
Yeah.
And that's one that rings in my head all the time. Is it success or is it my idea of it being a success? That kind of stuff. And whenever you look at a relationship, you really do have to examine those things. You really do have to examine your own personal motives. You really do have to examine your own personal being inside of it and how things are happening, and what your process is as you go through the steps of that relationship. I've definitely had relationships that started rapidly and ended rapidly. I've definitely had the random hookup in life. That wasn't really my thing. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it made me feel afterward. And, I guess for me, it was beyond the physical. I was looking for the true soul connection. I was looking for someone.
Yeah, the soul connection.
Who got me, who understood me as a person, and who accepted me as a person and encouraged me in the things that I do.
Because I know on a personal level, my story is I was kind of a part of that rapidness, and I didn't know the true meaning of love, and I wasn't looking for it. Yeah. And I think that's the best way is not force it. You can't force it.
No, you definitely can't force it.
And it was rapid, and it was more of whatever you consider the rapid is, And it was like, whoa, what is this? What is this? And I did hold it back. I never expressed my feeling for a while, and I held it back. And I was like, oh, my God, what is this? And the person I was with later on felt the same way. And it was a beautiful moment. That moment is etched into my brain.
Yeah.
That I remember that moment. And we felt connected in the same.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what we were looking for. It was not what we were going for, but it happened.
Sure, absolutely. And you can that, and it's interesting because that connection does exist. That there's, we've talked about it before on the show. There's a weird science that goes into vibration and connecting with people, and with what I consider to be the mental interweb. Where we are literally emotionally connected as people. Like if you walk into a room and there's some bad shit going on, like you can feel it.
Yeah.
Like you can feel that electricity in the room of like this doesn't feel right.
Right. Exactly.
If you're really in tune with things. And I've definitely had that connection where something just sprung up and it happened and it was there and it was great, but we both perfectly understood that this, we connect on some levels, but this is not going beyond what this is. Mm-hmm. And that's a perfectly understandable adult way to go. And that's, I'm not going to say it's the most healthy thing in the long run, but, it does happen. It does happen. But we have a hookup culture in America, and it started a long time ago, but it's gotten a lot worse. And, I don't necessarily see it as a healthy thing.
No, I don't think so.
I never really have. I see it as a confusing thing. It's something that jacks with your hormones. It jacks with your mind.
Jacks with the mind, for sure.
Playing game. People tend to play games and stuff like that, and it's not an adult or a healthy way to deal with relationship or to consider something like that a relationship.
Right.
Because a relationship is something that takes sacrifice on both sides.
Yeah.
Surely does. You really have to see that kind of like from the point, like if you've ever had, and it's a harsh example, but if you've ever had alcoholism or addiction in your family, and there's just that one person who has the problem that will not quit. And the person stays with them, and you really wish that they wouldn't because of the things that keep happening, but they stay with them, and it's because they love them. But is that necessarily the most healthy thing?
Yeah.
Like you're putting yourself into a situation of abuse. You're putting yourself into that situation. And does this person really care enough about you to stop their behavior?
To stop it, yeah.
Because stopping their behavior is what would be healthy for your relationship. It's what would be good for you, and it's what would be good for them. And really, they should be stopping it because it's what's good for you before it's good for them. Right. They should be stopping it because it's good for you.
Right.
because it helps the relationship, they should be stopping it. And if the mental break is there, that they're not going to stop something that you have asked them to stop, but that is detrimental to the relationship, then you really need to consider that. And that's a harsh reality. But I think in our society, we place such an importance on being in a relationship.
Just the thought of being in a relationship.
Yeah,
having another partner, having that other partner.
Well, and it's definitely there, especially when you're younger and you're dating and you've been with somebody for like a year or so. I'm sorry, I'm an old school guy. I don't mind dating somebody for 2-3 years before I ask them to marry me. I think that is pretty damn wise. Like Chris Rock said, the first 6 months you're dating a representative.
Right.
You ain't gonna find out like for the first 6 months until that person really is.
True. Yeah.
And that's kind of true. I mean, we all kind of have our walls up for a little while.
Yeah.
We don't all bare our soul immediately.
That wall is big.
That can be a scary thing, and that can freak people out whenever you're trying to have a relationship to just fully bear everything right out in front. But yeah, we live in a society now of quick marriage. Quick courtship, quick marriage, where it's like you get married 6 months after knowing somebody, and then you wonder why you're divorced 2 years later.
Well, and then not only that, people rush into it for all the wrong reasons.
Well, like what?
Like, maybe they made the wrong decisions, and let's say perhaps the woman gets pregnant or something or other.
Sure.
Well, we need to get married now or something or other.
At one point in time, socially, that was the norm. Yeah. If you're going to be a deadbeat dad, I got a real issue with you, and I invite you to come be on this show. And we'll talk about that. You know what I mean? But, I know people that have been adult and had babies together and not been in a relationship.
You can make a bad situation worse by doing so, I think. You know what I mean?
Well, you can, especially if it's an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah.
Especially if it's one that's detrimental to both people. It's not something that you're really... And then you kind of have to examine why you were in it to begin with after that. That does happen, though, in this modern day society. It happens all the time.
People have problems also, I found out. Moving away or having that breakup from those situations. They're like, well, I've known him this long, or I've known her this long, and, just kind of keeps coming back type deal. Yeah. But obviously it's like so many issues, so many breakups, or so many fights, and it's
I actively know a guy that has been with a woman for 15 years and has, lives with her. No intention of having a baby, no intention of getting married. That's not the plan, man.
Right, that's not the plan.
And he's told her, but they're still together. Yeah. And hey, that's your thing, that's your thing.
It's like
I don't know.
You're creating it's a tough your own
thing,
prison by doing so.
We as a society, I think, pressure people into relationships. We pressure people into the fact of, why are you alone? And we get pressured by the fact of all of our friends have girlfriends. All of our friends have boyfriends. Right. Why don't I have one?
Right. Don't want to feel left out.
Well, yeah. It's a feeling of being left out of the crowd. It's a feeling of not necessarily being appreciated, maybe. Maybe you feel a bit dejected by society or something like that. And I've definitely had that in life. I was a depressive personality and still am, so I got to watch things that I do. I got to watch my attitude and how I am in life. I can't be depressive because it leads me to bad places. So,
right, yeah.
And yeah, that can lead to a shame spiral with people, especially if they just got out of a relationship.
Right.
Or like we said, they were in a bad relationship previously, and just can't get back into one, and they want to and can't find someone. It can lead to bad places and depression,
I think the first step of finding that person or the right person is feeling comfortable about yourself. And accepting yourself.
Exactly. And that's what I would like to invite people to do, because that's something that I did for years on Valentine's Day when I didn't have somebody, was I would actually find something about myself to celebrate, and to grow on. To make myself a better person, to make myself a more whole person. Because, I truly believe that. You can work and try, but until you have straightened your life out,
right,
until you've gotten your business in line, universally,
exactly,
the roadblocks are going to be put in front of you. You know, like good people will come to you, but they won't necessarily be the one that you're supposed to be with.
Right.
You know, and
I totally believe in that.
Yeah. Like you've got to be ready for that, and you've got to be in a place to be able to recognize that when it happens. Really, and that's what a lot of this comes down to when it comes down to love, and when it comes to even whether it's agape or eros, either one is the faculty of judgment, the faculty of prudence, being able to sit back and think about that. Because I mean, literally, like people get so depressed they send themselves flowers at work and stuff like that. You know, and
I haven't known anybody, but yeah, I've heard of it.
I've known a couple people that have done it. I've known a couple people.
Send their own self
it's one of those, like, you know, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that you feel so, I guess, unfulfilled.
Right.
That, you know, that's the case.
I did meet a girl once, dated for a short moment, and it seemed like, I don't know, it must have been Valentine's or her birthday or something, and it was... I remember she was like, I hardly knew her, but she was begging me to send flowers at work. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
That she received them at work, you know?
Yeah, no. You gotta get them at work, man, so everybody sees them.
Yeah, that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, otherwise you gotta pick that up on the way to the store. You know, you could have picked that up on the way home. Just stop off and buy you a big old box of chocolates and sit back and.
But it was like, you know, she wanted to kind of show others that she worked with, you know, like, oh look, my boyfriend sent me this.
Yeah, she wanted to show off.
Yeah, she wanted to show off. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Julie Connolly actually just popped up on the chat box.
Julie,
hey, Julie, welcome to the conversation.
Going on?
Yeah, you know, and she's like, yeah, we had a lot of flowers at work today. I always wonder, you know, and absolutely true. You know, it's the fact.
Did you send those flowers, Chris?
No, but I did send them to my wife. She got a thing on Facebook. And she got a little reminder on Facebook about the fact that, you know, 6 years ago she was working at Print Globe, and I had sent her roses and a flower and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, all
it's not a bad thing to do.
No, absolutely. If you've got a lady, you know, do something special for her. It's a good day to. I'm not saying that Valentine's Day is bad, that it should go away at all. No. I truly believe that there should be a day dedicated to you remembering, other than just your anniversary.
And it's a beautiful thing when it happens naturally. You know,
I tend to celebrate that on the daily. You know, I surprise my wife with random flowers, gifts. You know, telling her I love you daily, things like that. I think that is such an important part of a relationship.
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Well, it's something that so many times, I guess, I've seen relationships where people don't have that. You know, where they don't outwardly show that. And we as men are not programmed in this society to outwardly show that.
True.
We are not. We're taught to be machismo. We're taught to keep that on the inside, keep that on the down low, keep it behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I lean over in the grocery store and kiss my wife. Like, I don't care. Like, I love my wife.
Yeah.
If I want to kiss her, I'm going to kiss her. That's how this works.
No, that's a beautiful thing. Really.
You know, and we don't get crazy. We aren't like making out on park benches or anything like that. But, you know, you definitely have to wonder,
and that's a beautiful thing too.
as a man in this country, how we accept Valentine's Day and how we look at it. You know, because a lot of guys look at it as this point of being saddled.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh God, man, I got to do the Valentine's Day thing and go out and you know, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
You know, really, you should kind of be wanting to go out.
Right.
Like, you know, I never understood the thing about, like, guys giving each other a hard time about, like, oh, you got to go be with the woman. It's like, you should be happy with your buddy that he's with a woman. Like, hopefully it's a woman that accepts y'all, accepts y'all's relationship and is healthily accepted into the fold and all that, and isn't,
that kind of reminds me of, like, somebody who, you know, doesn't realize what they have, if they even appreciate what they have. Because if it's a day of such thing, I mean, it shouldn't be a burden.
No.
You know, you should want to do it. You know?
Yeah, you should want to go out and do something.
Yeah, it's not like a hassle.
Yeah, we took a nap today. That's what we did for Valentine's Day.
Nice,
we went to the doctor and heard the heartbeat and saw the baby again, and
you couldn't get better
came
than
home
that.
and took a nap until about 3:00. Just passed back out.
Hell yeah!
So that was our Valentine's Day. It was full of celebration.
Heck yeah.
But I don't know. We're not really. I'm even one of those people that I'm not a big birthday person. I don't really do a whole lot for my birthday, and
Well, what matters is that y'all were together, and it's the simple things that count.
Well, yeah, and that's just it. It's the small things. It's the simple things that you do regularly, I think, that show your level of love for someone, whether it be the agape Christian love or, that they were talking about was probably the actual root of the Valentine story, was him being martyred on that day for not giving up his faith. But also the romantic love, because like I said, there are many ways to start a fire, but there's not many ways to keep a fire going. And in order to do that, like any good metalsmith will tell you that, like, the furnace never gets cold. You can't start with a cold furnace. Like, you've always got to keep some kind of bed of embers going.
Oh yeah.
And that's what it takes to keep a relationship going. That's what I think is missed with Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
That's what I think is overlooked. Right. Is the overarching concept. Father Troy, the man who married us, used to actually say a beautiful thing in his. I videotaped him numerous times whenever I did weddings, and he had a sermon that he gave and kind of altered for everybody. But a point that he always made was that love is not an accident. You do not fall into love. You may accidentally meet the person that you love, something like that, but to say that you fell into love is very dismissive and kind of dismisses the fact that love is an action. Love is a verb. Love is something that you actively do. It's a choice that you make. And, to not think about it in that way is, I think, dismissive. I think it dismisses the purpose of love. And I like, even between us, like, we tell each other we love you before we take off, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I say that to all my friends that I'm very, very close with, because, I truly believe it's the fact of I'd much rather the world go on with you spinning on it than me. I think you could probably contribute more to the world and to other people than I might. So that's where that concept comes for me. And even with my wife, before I said I love you, I used the term, and I think I've put it on this show before, I used the term loke. Loke. And it was a term I made up. And it was a combination of love and like. We aren't quite to the point of me saying I love you yet.
Right.
And I'm being emotionally honest with you right here.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty mature thing to do. I like you way more than a friend, but I don't know if I'm quite ready to make that commitment yet.
Right.
To say that word in a romantic way.
Because I remember
and when it was full on from that point on.
Right. That's the moment that I remember etched in my mind with the one I loved, was that it was a feeling, and it was I held it. I had my walls. We called it our walls, that we had up, and neither one ever uttered that word, but we both were feeling it, and it was who's going to say it first type of deal. And I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to be hurt. I thought at that point the walls go down. Sure. And that was in my mind.
Oh yeah. No, that's like, I mean, you give them a key to your brain at that point, man. They're renting spare space inside of there once that happens.
Yeah.
And you better be happy with the roommate.
So I had some walls up, before I uttered that word, a huge wall. And but they surely went down like nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think really as a society, as men, number one, and we did a whole episode on this when I was in Vegas not too long ago, the concept of love with men in America. And I think all too often, like I said, in society, in movies, television, music, love is sensualized, love is sexualized. We don't have a whole lot of songs. Like if you listen to some older songs, like Huey Lewis and stuff like that, you know, you had some old school songs about like.
And I believe he's playing the rodeo in that SA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Huey Lewis is playing.
Oh, no way!
Yes,
he's playing the San Antonio Rodeo.
Yes, he is.
All right, I'm looking into tickets to that.
Yes, he
I
is.
got to go check that out. Mm-hmm. But literally, you know, our society, the TV shows, you know, things like Sex and the City, stuff like that really came in and kind of started changing and over-sexualizing things a lot, I think, and started creating this false expectation. The same way that, you know, Barbie created a false expectation for what a woman should be.
Right.
Stuff like that. And those memes in society changed society. They changed the roles of society. They changed the way that we think about society.
Society wants to mimic this stuff,
And at one point, being married was considered something that wasn't, it was indelible, you know, and now I think our concept of marriage even has become something that's interchangeable, you know, and it's like, you know, you get married, then you leave, and you get married again. Like my dad, good job, man. He's been married 7 times.
Wow!
You know,
holy cow!
Yeah, it's a bit much, and you learn to deal with that as a kid. You learn to, I guess, understand it. But it's someone who literally has an issue with being alone. Like, that's an issue with being alone, you know, and you got to examine why you're getting into relationships.
Right.
You know, and are you really happy as an individual person? Like we were saying, that's what leads to the healthy relationship.
Right.
Because the whole concept of, I've never really bought into the complete concept of the Jerry Maguire, you complete me.
Oh, yeah.
Because, man, that's a lot of weight to throw on somebody.
Yeah.
You know, that's to say, like, I'm not complete without you.
Yeah.
Good God, what's going to happen when they pass away?
Right.
You know, sure, you're going to miss them, but are you not a complete person?
Right.
You know, and that's something that I got to say that, like, my wife and I fully support with each other, is that we have lives outside of our relationship. We have things that we do. We have projects that we do. We have that kind of stuff that we fully support each other in.
Right.
And like I said, that's necessary because it creates an identity outside of the relationship as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heck, just recently did we join bank accounts, and we've been married for almost 5 years. You know,
right?
And it's like we never did.
Yeah, that's
we never
unheard
did.
of. Yeah.
And that's
a smart thing. Probably.
That's like a huge level of trust.
That's a huge
level of trust.
Yeah,
and like the guy at the bank was like, "Oh, you know, you could always still remove cash." You know, and I was like, number one, I don't know if you should really be like putting that out there.
I know, right?
You know, number two,
little opinion of yours.
Number two, she's gonna see it anyway. Like the balance is gonna be there on her thing, and she's gonna see money gone.
It's on the paper trail.
Like, I mean, yeah, withdrawal ATM $200. You know, like, come on. She's going to see that I bought a piece of gear, bro. What am I going to do? Lie? But we have that open relationship where as long as things are paid for, as long as bills are paid for, if there's a piece of equipment that needs to be purchased for the business or something like that, or for the podcasts, we do it.
Right.
You know, we go out and we treat ourselves to dinner and stuff like that. And we aren't extravagant. We don't do crazy stuff, but we make sure that we take time for each other. We make sure that we make time for ourselves amongst that. And I think that's such an important part of having a healthy relationship.
Yeah, it comes with the, like, extreme trust in the person that you're with, and that you know is acquired over time. And once you're for sure this is the person that you want to be with, and this is the one that is the one you're in love with, I guess, and all that good stuff. So I mean,
and I think that's kind of because I remember. They now make it where a lot of places don't do Valentine's cards anymore at school. You know, I remember doing the Valentine's cards at school and stuff like that, and I remember a couple sad because I never really I knew a lot of people, but I didn't have a lot of friends, and even to this way, I'm that way. Like, I can count my friends, like, on one hand.
Yeah.
I got acquaintances out the wazoo.
I was going to say, your acquaintances are off the wazoo.
They're off the chain, business-wise and stuff like that, and even personally. But the people who are, like, my inner circle, the people who know the deep, dark secrets of Chris Jordan, are really only about 5 or 6 people in this universe. My wife being the main one. She knows more than anybody. like she other than maybe God in my life, because I ain't hiding it from him.
Yeah.
He was there. He saw it.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't matter if you tell him or not.
But it does take a long time to build that trust. It does take a long time to get there. And I think that
in this day and age, people rush things.
Well, that's just it.
Like
and I think that Valentine's Day in and of itself, like I was saying with elementary, with schools and things like that, they've made it now where if they do Valentine's, you give one to everybody in the class. Like there's one that goes to everyone in the class, because otherwise there's kids that feel left out.
That sounds like that award everybody wins type deal.
Well, yeah, kind of. But at the same time, man, whenever you open up your little Valentine box and you've got like 6 Valentines in there and there are like 25 kids in the class, even in first grade, you've done that math, dude.
yeah, you've done that math.
It's not rocket math. It's simple first grade math. And even a first grader can figure out, like, wow, not everybody in my class gave me a card. And that's hurtful.
But did Ashley give me a card? I was looking for Ashley.
That kind of stuff carries on in life. And that kind of stuff is what kind of breeds this concept of the craving of acceptance of other people,
right?
Regardless of your own self-worth, and it's what makes people, I think, psychologically want to do things to be accepted. It's what leads to promiscuity. It's what leads to these issues in life. And it's what leads to the hookup culture and stuff like that, because that's what's expected. We went on we went on a date, and isn't that what you do? No, not necessarily. No, it's not something that you have to do. And to expect that is kind of, I don't really know.
Yeah, it's expected in our culture. It's a society that it's just, they mimic what they see on TV or what's going on around them in their family.
Well, it's kind of, I think Valentine's Day is kind of the same concept as prom night, like there are expectations put upon it.
Right.
And I don't really go for that. I don't really go in for that. I don't really go in for the concept.
Or if you ever known anybody that since I'm a only child, but I never really had like brothers and sisters. So, say like a family that you come from a family where you have brothers and sisters, and you see all your brothers and sisters get married, but you're not yet. Type of deal like that.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because, and families do that. And Julie just popped in like, that's called rape culture. It absolutely is called rape culture.
Nice.
And that's just it. Like we've had episodes about that.
Yeah.
Where does this concept come from? And it's horrifying because right now, like the state of Texas, literally, and we covered this whenever the teacher in Houston got her student pregnant.
Yeah.
And like, what is it that's going on with these
student got her
early 20s to mid 30s women that are like having romantic relationships with high school students and stuff like that? Like there was just one here in Westlake.
Yes. And I've actually spoke to the kids last night that actually knew the teacher.
Oh, wow.
She lived on the street of them. They knew the boy that she had relations with also. And I spoke to them last night. Westlake actually, the parents of Westlake High School and the kids that go there, the parents sweep this under the carpet. They said they don't even talk about it. It's something they don't talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that's like known. Whenever these rumors start spreading, because my mom rang in on that episode, if you remember.
Yeah.
We also had Fitz ring in on that episode, I think, from Dallas or something like that.
I think so, yeah.
Because we were talking about the teacher and we were talking about the student.
Yes.
And he rang in on the student who was put up for rape and only did like 3 months from UCLA. And like Julie said, there is a rape culture in America, and it's a horrible part of our culture. And it's this understanding of sexual expectation, and it's gone beyond men now. Because like you've got crazy things going on Facebook and stuff like that with high school girls who are like publicly shaming guys that they've turned down,
right?
And stuff like that. And it's like, there's this back and forth, this pendulum swing going on where it's like, what is healthy, what's not healthy. Like, like we've said, people think this stuff on their Facebook page is private, and they're over there like shaming somebody just for asking them out. Like, oh, why would I go out with that scrub and stuff like that? And it's like, that's horrifying. That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's just mean, spiteful. And one thing begets another. And when that happens,
thinking about your actions and the damages.
And there was actually a situation not too long ago, and I'm trying to remember where it was. You can Google it. Boy beats up girl for refusing him on Facebook. And literally, he gave her a beat down at school because he had asked her out, and she came out and shamed him on Facebook and stuff like that. And he for disrespecting her, gave her the knuckles at school. And it's dude, what is going on in our society?
Right.
That's what's being spread to our youth. That this is the concept of dating. This is the concept of romance that we have.
Right.
That any of this behavior is acceptable, that any of this is an acceptable way to refuse somebody's romantic advance.
Right.
Hey, somebody may, I remember distinctly the first girl that I ever, asked or anything like that, told me straight up I was too weird. I was just too weird.
Right.
And I respect that.
But I was going to say, you never thought of any...
I'm a weird dude.
Responding back with violence. I mean, that's
I had a crush. Yeah. She left. She came back our junior year. Yeah. I was in technical theater, and I had an utter crush on her all over.
I don't even grasp the concept of
and
what
at that point, she was a totally different person. She wasn't hanging out with the same crowd, and I actually talked to her like a human being, and it was amazing. And the point, like I was saying earlier, the point of infatuation, that point of puppy love, that point of being infatuated with someone and then getting to know them as a person, is totally different. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I had a friendship with her, and it was a little bit different.
Right.
So we have to learn to separate these things as people. We have to learn to compartmentalize our brain, compartmentalize our emotions and our reactions to things. And we have to really learn that the extreme action that we want to take, Julia telling me that that's a reasonable action at least. A reasonable reaction at least.
Right.
So, it's hard to deal with rejection. It's hard to deal with that.
I think the kids in school and stuff like that, all that puppy love and what goes on Facebook and all that stuff, that sometimes ends wrong and horribly. The minds of the kids are still developing. They're so young, of course. I don't even,
Well, but even Michael Davis has brought it up. If you go out and look at the clothing that's at stores for young ladies. I'm talking 8, 9 years old. And I saw it start changing when I actually taught elementary school students and stuff like that. When I was a substitute teacher. Right. And it was oh my God.
Right.
What are these kids wearing? Right. This is 9 years old and they're wearing sexualized, straight up sexualized clothing. And it's what's going on with that? And somewhere along the line we have, and I'm not going to say that we've become an utterly immoral society. I'm not going to say anything like that. I still believe that there's utterly, truly
very
hope
sexualized
for our country. But we are definitely a sexualized country.
Yeah.
Now, we definitely didn't do what Israel did. Some Burger Kings are actually releasing adult meals.
Adult meals?
That come with 2 burgers, 2 beers, 2 orders of fries, and an adult toy. And the adult toy? The adult toy is like a lace mask, things like that. It's not like sex
and
toys
we're talking
or anything.
Israel.
That's what I said. I was not even in America, but in Israel.
This is
what is that?
Oh my God.
That is just mind blowing. But that was an article that I put up on the Dudes and Beer Facebook group today.
I cannot even
And
believe
please, guys, go out there, join the Dudes and Beer Face group. Check it out. We post all kinds of articles on there all the time.
Oh, that's
wild
insane.
Science, wild politics, starting discussions, debates, all kinds of things. And, when I saw that this morning, it was what the Shasta? That's just out of control, man.
I'll get on social media and sometimes try and look up old friends of mine or something or somebody I know.
Sure.
And then there'll be profiles of I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, dude, this girl looks like she's 12.
Yeah.
Look at her profile pic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what is she doing wearing this stuff? Like, what the? You know?
Yeah.
It's like, shit,
well,
dude.
and I mean, just take a look at Facebook itself and what it's become, and especially what a lot of the selfies have become. And one of my friends recently posted a meme picture, like a picture of my grandmother. A picture of a grandmother 10 years from now. And it was literally like a woman like in this lace bra top, like taking a selfie of herself, you know? And it's like, that's what kids are going to find on the internet of their grandmother.
Oh, shit.
Is pictures from Facebook and stuff like that, dude.
Oh,
and are they even thinking about that? Are they even like thinking of that far-reaching concept that whatever's out there ain't coming off?
It ain't coming off. One of my philosophies.
That's in our disclaimer that people sign, where it's like, hey man, like whatever you say is going to be on the internet, and I'm not editing it out. So
one of the philosophies and thoughts I always keep in my brain is that if it's digitized and digital, it's forever almost. It's going to be somewhere.
It's indelibly marked.
It's going to be somewhere to where it can be pulled up somewhere. If it's on a hard drive, it doesn't
absolutely,
matter.
Absolutely. You know, and there was just a huge social media sting that was done with a group of pedophiles, all kinds of stuff. I mean, my brother, I saw a thing a few years ago where my niece had a friend that had committed suicide, and she was talking about it on her Facebook page and stuff like that, and this guy popped up and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, this and that. You know, if you need to talk with anyone, I'm here,"
I'm sure.
and all that. And I'm like, you know, I don't really see any associated friends on his page necessarily.
Kind of creepy,
you know. And I texted my brother like, "Hey, you should really go and check out Megan's Facebook page." And he started Google stalking the guy.
Good.
And started finding out that like he wasn't friends with a whole lot of her friends, but he had on his page he had a lot of really young friends for like a mid-30s dude. And he was like, "Hey, fella." Like literally contacted him on Facebook. It was like, "Hey, I would suggest that you unfriend my daughter."
Exactly.
But you know, even now, like people are so willing to accept this. Like, think about all the scams that happen all the time on things like there was just a big thing about Christian Mingle scams.
Yep.
Christian Mingle. I mean, here's a good, and you got to admit,
just the name itself says, I can trust this.
I can trust this.
Right.
Yeah. You know, you're thinking that everybody that you're meeting on this site is a Christian person, and maybe not so. You know, and there was a huge scandal with that. There was a huge article today about people falling into Valentine scams and stuff like that, you know, and meeting people on the internet and everything else. And, you know, it's odd dating in this world nowadays, in this Craigslist world. I mean, you know, good God, just a few years ago we had the Craigslist killer, you know, taking women out on dates and killing them and things like that.
That was a huge thing,
And, you know, I can't imagine, I really can't, what it's like to be a woman in a modern day society, and the creepy stalking capabilities that people have and stuff like that. You know, the creepy invasions of privacy that can happen through social media and that kind of stuff. It's to me, it's worrisome, and and
I see a lot of things on, like, you know. Most of them are the investigation things on you know, like cable TV or something, you know, like you know, the lonely-hearted people that perhaps may be wealthy or something, and then, you know, they're lonely and they're seeking something online, and they get used by the person they find online, you know, and they suck some dry of their money, their bank accounts.
And that's just it. Like people's feeling of acceptance goes so deep that they're ready to willingly give themselves over. They're willing to go so deep as to be into denial. And I will admit the fact that I was at a point, at one point in a relationship like that just before I moved home, where it was like, I really had to examine it and really feel within myself where it was going and what the future of it was, and had we necessarily purchased tickets to the same destination on the train. Not just were we sharing the train and the trip, but were we arriving at the same destination?
Oh, that's
did we have tickets to the same destination here.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a deep concept to think about.
Yeah.
But it's something that you have to think about. Not necessarily at the beginning of a relationship. You should absolutely let things grow, let them be organic and stuff.
Yeah.
But by about 6 months, you should, as an adult, once you're in your 20s and stuff, you should really be thinking about like the healthiness of that relationship, and is that person reciprocating the communication that you're giving, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think
that's what I look for.
I think our society has really started skipping over a lot of that. I think we've really started shortcutting a lot of that.
Oh yeah,
with shows like The Bachelor and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It really normalizes the concept of casual hookup dating.
Yeah. If I was The Bachelor and on that show, I wouldn't even pick any or even consider them. They're there for probably all the wrong. Why would you even be on this show? Come on. You're on here because what?
Yeah,
all the wrong reasons.
Kind of.
It's not organic. This show's not organic.
No, it's definitely scripted.
Yeah.
And and that's just it. Like, you don't want your relationship to be a scripted life. You don't want your relationship to be something that you're living by a script, that you're living by some rules. You want it to be real. You want it to be live. You want it to be, mistakes will happen, mistakes will be made, and it's how you deal with that, and yeah, I think that.
And you want
today,
that furnace going all the time,
Well, that's the thing is it's you got to keep at least a bed of embers. It's not always going to be a furnace. It's not always going to be a blazing, forging fire that's going to melt steel,
right?
But as long as you keep a bed of coals there, it's easy to turn it into a fire. It's easy to get things going.
True that.
And you got to really work on keeping the coals hot. You got to really work on keeping each other fulfilled, sustained as people.
Right.
And keeping each other encouraged as people in the world around us, and making each other understand that this is a team effort. We are just like any good band. We're horses that are pulling the same cart to the same destination with the same amount of equal force, and that's what makes a healthy relationship.
Be on that
that's
same
what
page.
Makes a good one, exactly. And I think that's something that shows like Us and things like that on TV are really starting to bring back about. We're really starting to kind of refocus some of that. Because we have started to notice in this society that, things are a little too cash sometimes. It's okay to date around and that kind of stuff, but it's different whenever people are getting shamed for it, whenever people get reputations for it and things get associated with it. And we have to be careful with that. We have to watch out for that. We have to safeguard against that.
Keep your wall up for,
Well, make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you're
first.
Yeah. And there's a great song, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's a classic rock song about two kids that go to the drive-in, and the whole time that they're at the drive-in, they end up falling asleep during the movie. And they have to go home, and it's like, oh my God, what are we going to tell your mama? What are we going to tell your pop? What are we going to tell the kids when they say ooh la la? And I think the whole message of that, it's Wake Up Little Susie, as a matter of fact, is the name of the song. Wake up, little Susie. It's time to go home. The movie ended at 10 o'clock, and here it is like 5 a.m. And oh my God, the only thing your dad's going to think is there's only one reason I'm keeping you out until 5 a.m. Not that we innocently fell asleep at the drive-in movie, but that we were parked somewhere in my car until 5 a.m. And when people find out that you got in at 5 a.m., what are they going to say at school? What's the repercussion going to be? And I think we've kind of lost some concept of that. People don't necessarily see the repercussions in their actions. People don't necessarily see the status that comes with what they do. The indelible mark of what's going to happen to them if that news gets out. So there are things to be considered, young ones, whenever you're out there having your romantic dalliances on Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, things like that. You kind of have to worry about it on social media nowadays. So remember, that stuff gets out there. It's out there for the public to consume nowadays. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember that whenever these things do happen, try to keep the rumors away. Try to do something that's right. Try to do something that keeps everybody in the right place and keeps everything in the right perspective. And, then you will be doing things that are right for you. You will be doing things that are right for the world around you. And on that note, everybody, we'd like to say thank you very much for tuning in. Keep tuning in. Yes. Download the Dudes and Beer app. It is free. Until next time, if you can't be good,
Google Play.
If you can't be good, be good at it.
Be good at it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. To listen to our audio streams and chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for both Android and iDevices, available on the Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the Revolution Digital Group family of podcasts. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.